Facebook has built a tool that will allow the company to monitor and suppress posts based on location, and they're doing this in order to get into China. The tool has been a secret, but some Facebook employees have already left the company in protest. That's according to Mike Isaac at the New York Times, his sources. This would be a pragmatic move on Zuckerberg's part, and he obviously wants to get into China at any cost. Now, Zuckerberg and other tech companies are always, of course, looking to find their next billion users, and China has 1.4 billion people in it, so this makes sense to try to get there. But in order to distance themselves from the criticism, Facebook, it seems, has designed the tool for use by third parties, such as perhaps local companies in China. Here's how you can use this to filter. We're not censoring anyone. And then there's a good chance that Facebook will not succeed in China with or without a tool like this. So, yeah, I mean, we don't know. They might not do this at all. This was just some sources say this. Lots of companies are creating things that they never intend to use. So I don't know. It's it just asks the question, what is censorship? And I think when you're dealing with a place like China too, which is a capitalist society, but like their government, we expect capitalism to go along with democracy, and when it doesn't, a lot of people in the United States are like, what? But that's the way it is in China, and I don't know that Facebook would work there.
Yeah, well, and not to mention China already has a lot of other services that are filling the gaps of Facebook. So this is an ambition that Facebook has to get into this market. Like you say, it might not have very much success because there are already, services that are working closely with the Chinese government and are very successful, have millions, hundreds of millions of users. So that would be an uphill battle for Facebook. Zuckerberg has said in some sort of all hands meeting in front of the company, apparently, that he wants to enable conversation in China, even if it's not the full conversation. So there's definitely some interest, some open-mindedness to the idea of altering the content in order to make it in there. But that, as we know, that sort of thing becomes a slippery slope. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the whole, encryption backdoor discussion from earlier this year, where it's like, okay, you open that door in this case, how much wider does it get over time? And, what are the unintended consequences of that? How does that affect things? Especially considering that Facebook is such a monstrous tool used by billions of people. What are the potential damage of that?
Right. So what you're saying is like creating a tool that could censor certain content for certain people in certain places. Just creating that for China means that they might eventually use it in the United States or other places.
Well, I don't know. I think what I'm saying is you open the door. If that's something that Facebook and Zuckerberg is interested in doing and has not done yet, you open that door. You don't know who's walking through 2, 3, 5 years down the line. You don't know where that ends up. And I just say be cautious, because that goes counter to what Facebook has been about thus far.
Does it? Because I think that we're talking about the word censorship, like purposely keeping something from you, but they are purposely keeping things from you now.
Well, I guess with the algorithm it still exists within the service though, and it can still be seen by someone. I guess it's just not being shown to you specifically. Right. So I guess it depends on how you define that.
But their tool is already set up to do that. Like you hate puppies, so Facebook will never show you. You don't hate puppies.
Hate puppies.
Okay, you love puppies, so Facebook will never show you pictures of people abusing puppies. So let's say that. Okay. Yeah, so they're already doing that, and they're doing it because they think that's what we want. And so, that's what they were doing with the news. Here, you are like, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about just a general you out there, you liberal person out there. Like, Facebook knows you only want to see liberal stuff. So they only showed you liberal stuff. They're not censoring the conservative stuff from you, but, what are they doing? Like what? And, they already have a tool that's set up that can keep you from seeing certain things. We saw it with the advertising. That was advertising, whether you're going to see or not see advertising. But they have a tool to exclude certain information from certain people. It's already there.
Yeah. It is interesting that in this case, blocking, real news would be possible, but blocking news that isn't real, that's a real big challenge that we have to figure out and do a lot of thinking around.
Right. But I mean, that's the thing that's frustrating to me right now because like people are sort of equating like real news versus fake news to conservative news versus liberal news. Like,
Yeah, right.
There's lots of conservative news that is not fake, you know, but that a lot of people didn't see. You know, it's real journalism, but people didn't see it because because of what Facebook decided that you wanted to see.
Right. Yep. Very true.